I'm here today to talk about two really big events going on. One is the full moon in Gemini and then Venus retrograde the next day. And so I'm in a different location today, as you can see. I did write on the board in the beginning just so I feel like that gives everyone a heads up as to what I'm talking about. But like things are just kind of different in my living situation this week and kind of lately, so this was just a better place for me to be able to talk. So we're in a different corner with this lovely painting that I got recently at an estate sale of Carl Reiner, if any of you know who that is. He was an actor and comedic writer, especially of like the Dick Van Dyke Show and of some early like Steve Martin movies and a bunch of other things. But anyways, so if you follow some of my creative stuff, you know I love the past and stuff like that. So in Beverly Hills, they had an estate sale for him, and I got this cool painting for $10, and I thought it was cool. And this old chair that so I'm sitting in a little cool old corner right now. It's in energy from the past. Anyways, so to start off, before I get into the energy, I want to remind you all of my offerings in case any of you need help during this time. So if you want to see how this full moon and Venus retrograde are affecting you amongst other things, I'm here for astrology phone calls, or we can look at the current energies, see how these things are impacting you amongst other things and other questions you might have. I'm also available for tarot phone calls, so if you want to see how this energy is affecting you with tarot cards or with both the tools of astrology and tarot or just other things. Tarot is great for asking specific questions, so if you have a lot of specific questions, I do recommend that type of reading, but of course both, that'd be awesome too. And I can always do, say you have one question and you don't want a whole like phone call reading, I can always like answer your question over an email reading or something. So, whatever your needs are, don't hesitate to reach out and we can figure something out. And of course, I'm also always offering birth charts, the basis of all the astrology. I'm also offering gift certificates right now for Christmas time, so you can give someone any type of astrology or tarot reading. So just let me know. I have made like a gift certificate template that you can, either send to someone electronically or you can print out. So just ask if you're interested in that. And then of course I always remind everyone during their birthday season that I do solar returns. So that's a chart that starts on your birthday that lasts till your next birthday. And so Sagittarius it's still the very end of your season, so if you've not gotten yours done and you would like that, let me know. And also we're about to enter Capricorn season, so if you're a Capricorn, also let me know. So now let's talk about the energy. So we're having a full moon in Gemini tomorrow night, which is Saturday night here in California, and I'm filming this on Friday. And so this one is a big deal. This whole weekend's a big deal. This month we wrapped up an eclipse cycle, a nodal cycle with Gemini and Sag energy that has lasted roughly a year and a half. And this isn't an eclipse, so in a way we've kind of wrapped it up, but now we're having a full moon, so a lesser, lunar event still in these signs, and the nodes will change in January. So I really do think there's still an element to this lunar event of wrapping up the Gemini Sag cycle. And I got a wild kitty over here playing with my clock. Say hi, this is Missy. I really named her Mystic, but I never call her that. She's Missy. She's mystical, but she's just a little Missy. Anyway, so with this Gemini Sag energy, we're wrapping up an eclipse cycle that was really about our minds, our beliefs, all of that. And so moving forward, this is the last lunar event that I want to say is even tied to these nodes. So of course every year we'll still have a Gemini Sag full moon twice a year, but we're moving on with like this big eclipse story. So now hopefully with the Gemini energy, you know, and I've said this so many times, like I hope you've all become more open-minded, learn to question things, stuff like that, taking in new information and maybe new thought patterns. And then with the Sag energy, I hope that you've kind of let go of needing to be right, needing to know the truth, needing to cling to a belief, and maybe questioned your old beliefs and even your old direction in life, your old goals. And so that was the whole point, and to more move into an open-minded place and whatnot, and a curiosity. So now I want to say, with this full moon, it's kind of, we are for sure solidifying new Sag energy. So now after all of that, up until this point, you know, we may not have known what the next step is, what lies ahead in the future, because it was more about being open-minded and curious, maybe not needing to know a direction. So now I think it's time. It's like, okay, you were open-minded, you were curious, you let go of the old beliefs, the old direction, all of that. So now we're starting, I think, to move into a new direction, new goals, a new future, a new trajectory in our lives. And now we can solidify maybe new things. If you believe new things now, you can kind of solidify them and move forward accordingly. And I've talked about this before, but this full moon brings it up again. And then with this full moon in Gemini, though, it does still remind us of some last clearing out of in our minds. So some old mental patterns, thought patterns. We really want to make sure that our heads are in a good space, a new clear space, and ready to move forward onto a new path, because now we think differently, we believe differently, and we're just sort of resorted out in our minds. And something really crazy about this full moon is that the sun part of it, and I always think of the sun part of a full moon because the sun and moon are both equally important in a full moon. You know, it is where the moon is at in relation to the sun that creates these kind of phases. So it is Sagittarius season, so I think of us more focusing on Sag, and then the Gemini, the moon, kind of emotionally brings up stuff to let go of. So Gemini, the mind, stuff like that, kind of want to let go. So it's crazy about the sun part of the full moon, which is where I want to say we're like focusing more, is that it is aligned with the galactic center, which is the center of our Milky Way galaxy. So this is kind of crazy. So, you know, we've ended this eclipse cycle. Now we have this little full moon kind of wrapping this up, ready to choose a new direction, moving forward with new beliefs after we've, you know, shifted our mindset, been curious. And it's on the center of the Milky Way galaxy, or conjunct that point. And that is just, I feel like this is like a portal, just a huge, amazing portal of energy. And if you don't know, I believe what is at the center of our Milky Way galaxy is a black hole. So it's just kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's mysterious. It's a portal. It contains so much. So this is a really important moment. A portal of opportunity opening up, if you will. Although what's funny about it is this whole huge thing happens, and then the next day Venus goes retrograde, so then we're kind of thrown in a backwards motion. So I think something really big happens at the end of this eclipse cycle, but we're going to need time to process it, is what that is. You know, retrogrades do mean we need time to process something, and we're about to make some changes or decisions and stuff like that. So this just kind of tells me we're headed for some big things, but it might take a while. So I want to say on the mental level, on the internal level, you will feel a huge shift, and you should make sure, you know, you are letting go of old thought patterns, your head is in a good place. You're taking what you've learned and you're choosing a new direction inside, at least, even if you don't know the physical life choices that will entail. And know what you believe now, you know, all of that. Internally know that and kind of like, I don't know, internally step through this portal, like accept the energy, accept this new change, this opportunity. And then, you know, we'll need to process maybe some details during Venus retrograde, and then we are having Mercury retrograde that starts during Venus retrograde. So until like February, even like, yeah, like March maybe more, when things really move forward with shadow periods, stuff like that, everything catching back up. So we might kind of be like in a backwards, like no man's land for a while, but it's really important and it's leading to big things. And don't forget this big lunar event happening right before. So yeah, it's just a huge opportunity. So I'd really make sure during the full moon, get in a good space, get in a good headspace, decide what you want. You know, it is so mental, so verbal. You can write it down, say it out loud, do something to put it into form if you want. You know, you don't have to do these things. It really is just about energy. So if it's powerful enough for you to say in your head or something, or for you to just embody that and be sure with yourself about how much you've changed and what you would like now, that's good enough. But it is a verbal, mental energy, so you could communicate it, write it down, stuff like that. So it's big energy. It's a big energy. Before I talk about Venus retrograde, though, what we're about to start processing, right after we deal with that big lunar event, I do want to mention kind of a difficult aspect happening at the time of the full moon that's also adding to it. And that is that Mercury, which ironically is the ruler of Gemini, so it is an important planet in this full moon. Mercury and Capricorn will be squaring Chiron in Aries. So yeah, we're really needing to make sure we're in a good headspace. Moving forward, we really want to let go of some negative thought patterns and things like that. And this is funny because I don't know if any of you have been looking at kind of in the 12 days leading up to Christmas, I've been doing tarot card readings every day, like written on Instagram and Facebook. And the one for today, the day I'm filming this, was like all about kind of being careful what we say, like the affirmations that we say in day-to-day life. And I feel like it's tied to thought patterns and how we express that. And so it's so funny, all this like full moon energy really like ties into that. And same with this Mercury square Chiron aspect. So this is about like wounded thought patterns, wounds kind of getting to our head, stuff like that. So this can play in a few different ways. Chiron in Aries is wounds about identity, who we are, being able to embody that, being able to assert ourselves, be independent, stuff like that, stuff about the self. Wounds about that. And the Mercury squaring that, it's like, so do we have trouble expressing that, or are we expressing this hurt and dissatisfaction we feel with ourselves? And we kind of need to change those types of thought patterns in order to be in a better headspace, but also heal those wounds. Maybe we need to talk about it, think about it differently, instead of saying bad things about your identity or yourself, or, you know, or holding back who you are or not asserting yourself. It's time to start doing that. And then also with Mercury and Capricorn, this can be two things. Like if the Mercury and Capricorn energy is negatively tapped into, this could be like limited thinking. So are, you know, you limiting yourself or thinking small about yourself, or you're limiting yourself because of your wounds and your sense of inadequacy or non-acceptance? Again, this is all in your head that you would be limiting yourself and doing these things. Now, if you use Mercury and Capricorn positively to kind of work your way out of this aspect, it would be like being really serious, getting practical and serious, and taking a look at it in a practical, grown-up, serious way, and being like, you know what? I don't want to say and think these bad things about myself anymore. I need to accept myself. I need to show up and communicate as my authentic, true, you know, self, show my identity. I need to assert myself when needed. I need to allow myself to feel strong enough to be independent, you know, just so all these things where you're kind of getting yourself into a mental space that, yeah, just being really practical with yourself and serious, and making sure that you're accepting yourself, you're showing up as you, and you're kind of being strong and like independent, assertive, like good Aries qualities, instead of like feeling bad about yourself, speaking badly, not standing up for yourself, being kind of needy or codependent, and not feeling like you can do things yourself. So these are the kind of themes that we're needing to kind of get in a better headspace about, and the best way to go about it with Mercury and Capricorn is to be very practical. So these are some things we need to sort out and get straight and release during this full moon in order to move forward, you know, in order to have this new future, to go on this new trajectory, to be in the right mental space, to be clear moving forward, to move through this kind of, you know, again, like galactic center, like portal opening up here. So a lot of mental work to be done at this time. And I think a lot of the releasing, because full moons are always about release, is going to be in the mind. It can feel emotional still, but it's kind of because, you know, it's very tied to your thought patterns and stuff like that. So, you know, and it's an intense week. You may have felt the build up to the full moon, the emotions, the thoughts coming up, these things brought to your awareness. Full moons, you can have trouble sleeping. This is weird because normally that would be tonight, so Friday night. So let me know if any of you have trouble sleeping Friday night. But I experienced it, and I hope I don't experience it again Thursday. I always, without fail, have trouble sleeping right before a full moon. So that just always happens to me. So are any of you like that? I mean, I know I do astrology, so I'm allowing myself to be really tuned into the planets. So, you know, perhaps some people aren't quite as tuned into that type of energy always, so they might not always be affected, but I'm very affected. So, so that might be, you know, something you experience too, sleepless night, and especially with the mental energy, your mind might be really active. And yeah, just the thought patterns coming up, you know, the choices about what my new trajectory is going to be might feel really powerful and cool as well. And again, emotions can come up too, I think, connected to the way that you're thinking. So, because Moon in Gemini is like an emotional energy that's more like mental though. So pay attention to your thoughts if you're feeling a lot of things, if you're really emotional right now. Okay, and so now to talk about Venus going retrograde. So then Sunday, very early Sunday, very shortly after the full moon, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn, where it will be till pretty much the very end of January. I think it's like the 28th, something like that. It goes direct, so most of January. So we need to reflect on Venus themes and in Capricorn. So, you know, we do all this work, we do all this mental rearranging, we're ready for a new path, or ready to step through this portal, and then Venus goes retrograde, and Venus asks us, tune into your heart. What does your heart want? You know, but also Capricorn. So tune into your heart, but also do it from where you don't get carried away, you don't have the rose-colored glasses, do it from a practical. So you want the practicality of Capricorn and the love vibration of Venus to meet, and to figure out what you want through that energy. So maybe what you want, but also what makes sense. So we will be looking at, you know, this will be different depending on your chart as well. So again, I'm here for readings if you need to see where that is. But love relationships get a big rethinking during this time. Money, Venus can be finances, especially in Capricorn, more practical world stuff can get brought up. As well as like creativity. If you're a creative person, it might be some literal creativity, but it's also just what are you creating next? So Venus, you know, where's your heart going to be? And this can be love in any respect as well. So it's like, what kind of love relationship do you want? And also what makes sense, you know, in a practical Capricorn standpoint. what goes with the structures of your life, you know, and then just what do you want, what do you love in general, but also makes sense. So this could be like a job, you know, what kind of work do you love, but also what makes sense, you know, places you want to live, etc. But also that receptivity Venus energy, you know, so, you know, are you open to receiving, you know, abundance? And then with that abundance, you know, are you practical? Are you structuring that properly? Like, let's take a look at that. And Venus is, you know, it's just that feminine energy. So also, what are you creating? How, you know, what are you drawing into your world? Receptivity, what are you birthing? You know, what are you creating? And the creative part of Venus in Capricorn is creating something, but, you know, not just having ideas, but putting something out there in the world. So, you know, so we're just rethinking about all these things. So then moving forward, you know, we're like, okay, this is the type of love relationship I want, or what I need right now. This is what my heart wants, but also what makes sense. I figured out my relationship with money a little bit more, like what I'm allowing myself to receive, but also whether I'm being a grown-up about it, whether I'm being practical about it, you know. And then with the creativity also, like, and the other things you may love in your life, you know, I figured out what my heart is in, what it isn't in, what my heart wants to create, but also I'm being practical about these things I would like to do. And I am putting my creativity into an actual form. So I've decided what I want to create, but also what kind of form to put it in, how that fits in with the structure of my life. So these are the things we are figuring out right now. And with Venus in Capricorn, it's a traditional energy, it's a structured energy. So again, especially like with love right now, let's focus on that. Everyone will focus the most on that, I will say. I just don't think that's the whole picture, but it's a lot of things. Tradition works more right now in structure. So this is not a supportive energy of like, you know, flings or messing around. I think people won't be as inclined to do that right now. And especially, you know, if you're kind of tuning into the energy and what's for your highest good, and you can decide, you know, Venus Capricorn, very practical. I'm not ready for one right now. I need to be by myself for a while. That's cool too. But I would say, like, any sort of messing around or anything like that, it's not Capricorn. Like, it's not practical. It's probably not what your heart's in. It's not very traditional. So people will be more serious about whatever they want, you know. And it can be a bit unconventional, but it will be serious and it will make sense, and there could be a lot of tradition tied up in it for a lot of people. We might even as a society be rethinking some traditional, I just like got this is like a download, rethinking traditional relationship dynamics, and yeah, being like, maybe that did work, maybe we're kind of straying off path, because, you know, I read recently, you know, that that's completely going out the window, and that just the percentage of that is very low. And so with Venus and Capricorn, we might be rethinking that. And then Venus is also feminine energy. So for those who are female, identifies female, whatever, might be rethinking, you know, some things we threw out the window that were traditionally feminine but like weren't bad. And we might be bringing some of that in. So that might be some like collective stuff. So that's interesting. But there's a traditional element here. But yeah, following your heart. So, you know, because this could have to do with jobs and all sorts of other things too that your heart is in. But it's just got to make sense as well. But that doesn't mean do the traditional job and not the one, you know, where your heart's in it. It just means be practical. But I just want to say with the feminine energy and love relationships, there might be like a comeback or rethinking about tradition, or maybe even coming up with a new way entirely, but still thinking about it. Like, well, traditionally we did this, and that part of it was good, that part of it was bad. We're not really doing the traditional thing right now. Let's rethink about it, you know, and everyone coming up with what works for them. So there's that. And with the Venus retrograde, sometimes people can come back from the past. So beware of that, you know, is it meant to be or not? A lot of the time they're not, but some cases they are. So be careful of getting sucked into, like, you know, been there, done that kind of thing. You could also, there could be some nostalgia though, even, you know, this is happening around Christmas time, so it could be nostalgic for ways you used to create, things you used to love and put your heart into, and that might lead you, you know, have a clue for what to create going forward, what you want in your life going forward. So you can look at some of this nostalgia. Again, Capricorn tradition, so maybe some traditions, some nostalgia, things you used to do, family things. There could be that, you know, especially around the holidays, that, but it doesn't even have to be family. It can, and that gives you clues to something, but it could just be nostalgia for something you used to enjoy doing, or a hobby, or something you used to create, something you used to love. So sometimes retrogrades can bring that stuff up, and that can be helpful for, you know, figuring out what you want going forward. Not all things in the past, you know, have to be left there. Sometimes we just kind of give stuff up that was an important part of ourselves. So, you know, Venus retrograde can bring up some of that. And I'm not going to talk about Mercury retrograde here. We'll get to that in its own time in January. But I do want to say there will be a brief overlap of the two of them. So a very retrograde feeling time in January. So I want to say it's like the 14th, something like that. Very mid-January to the 28th. So these are, you know, give or take a day. Around that time frame, 14th, 28th, they will both be retrograde. So keep that in mind. And yeah, so not only will we have to rethink, you know, our heart and what makes sense with our heart, you know, and the receptive energy, the creative energy, the loving energy, all of that, we're also going to have to do, you know, take a step back in our mind with Mercury retrograde, probably to make some big decisions later on. So this is what we're all heading into, you know, we're having this full moon, it's wonderful, it's a whole new thing opening up, but we're really going to have to rethink, you know, decisions we're going to make, we're going to have to rethink what we want, where our heart is, what we love, what we want to create, all the stuff talked about. So that's why this is happening. So it may seem slow, you know, Venus retrograde can make things seem slow and confusing. Mercury retrograde, you know, will come and it'll be hard to make decisions, think clearly, all of that. I mean, I wouldn't really make decisions in Venus retrograde either. It is the Mercury retrograde that is more about decisions in the mind, but I would never make a decision during a personal planet retrograde. So I would take a step back, you know, don't enter new relationships, don't end them yet, you know, don't start creating something completely brand new. If you're creating something and you're tapping into the, you know, nostalgic stuff, that could be cool though. So, you know, don't like stop creating, keep doing what you're doing. And if it's like nostalgic, I think that could be really fun right now. But brand new things or brand new jobs or, you know, brand new ways of making money, these things are coming and decisions are coming, but I wouldn't do them yet. So, and we will have a slow period of time here, and this full moon is big. Make big choices to move forward, and a general idea of where you'd like to go in your head, and say it out loud. You know, say it out loud, write it down, do it in your head. Kind of accept this portal that's here. Kind of imagine yourself stepping through it, so to speak, on like a spirit level. But know that in order for your life to progress forward in this huge new way with all this change that has happened, we have to reflect on something. So just be patient with the process. And yeah, and I think that's all I want to say today about that. And so again, I'm here if you want to know how Venus retrograde is affecting you, the house it's moving through. It could be a couple different houses, which are areas of life in your chart. If you want to know where the full moon's affecting you, you know, I'm here for readings and for any other energy, you know, as well. Anything going on for you, even, you know, tarot, again, it is great for specific questions. So if you got a lot of specific questions, don't forget that I offer that right now too. So I shall see you all soon, and I hope you make it through all of these energies. It's a crazy intense time, but it just shows us how important it is and how many big things are coming. So November was kind of our month of moving forward because we had a Mercury retrograde before that, and I said retrogrades were coming. So it was a brief little window, and you may have made some changes. They're gotten clear about some things, but maybe even not as much as you were expecting, because it might, you know, even some changes the other events that we've had lately, eclipses and stuff, have brought in. They might not have fully manifested yet, so just know it's all kind of coming. We're building up to a lot right now. So anyways, I shall see you all soon. Have a good one.